Hey, so we're going to talk about our results for last month of January 2026. Um, it's been a little bit slower month. We were really focused on building a lot of infrastructure coming out of the holidays. I'll talk about when we get to the executive summary. So we didn't run a lot of events, but things have really picked up on, some of what we built out on our distribution strategy with social media and kind of getting things lined out for the rest of 2026. Um, so if you get the PDF version of this, you'll see all this. This is our typical, what is Project Vanguard video that's on our YouTube page. There are all the socials. You can go find and follow us on all these things. Let me click through that. We did put out a couple of videos, kind of wrapping up the entire 2025 year and what are we planning for 2026 last month. So if you didn't see those, they're baked into the PDF version of this. So go check those out on YouTube or in the PDF. Okay. So one of the things that we really have been focusing on was, we've been generating a lot of content. We had a great friend and collaborator that's now over at RE Plus that previously been at ACP, Becca Brown, did an evaluation of a lot of our content and marketing. One of the things that Becca brought up is we're generating really great content, especially with the podcast. However, it's not getting out there that much. So back in December or November, whenever she was telling me this, we really started thinking about how do we do better on our distribution, because we have some thoughts on doing some things with elected officials around energy projects in their state, really building out our reach and access and conversations with state elected and county elected officials that are vets in these energy project areas. But we don't want to start a new project when we don't have great distribution and traction with the existing project. So what we've been able to do, it bleeds a little bit into February, but basically in the first 45 days of this year, we've been able to match all of our 2025 social metrics for the entire year of 2025 in these 45 days. I've always been against boosting. Again, Becca was great, and just try $100 here or there. And so for less than $1,000, we were able to match it. Now that's all top funnel. We'll get into the metrics a little bit later. So we got to do a better job of like having stronger calls to action and having CTAs that move people up from, not just seeing something and watching it and liking it and engaging with it, but then following us to joining to volunteering to turning out to do the types of things we want to do to advocate for veterans, getting people jobs, and speaking up about, what it's like to work in this industry. So we've still got a lot of work to do there, but I mean, it's pretty promising that we've got, over 600,000 impressions in 45 days. So that's been really good. We just got approval for the Iowa state launch. That was something that was still kind of pending. We've gotten approval of that. There's a job description that'll be out on LinkedIn today. So make sure if you have any recommendations there. It's not the full funding we wanted to have like a full-time director on. It's going to be a 1099, working fractionally in the state. So, but it's a step in the right direction. States like Iowa, Oklahoma. I'll be in Oklahoma next month for the Energy Day, the legislative day there in Oklahoma City. So if you're interested in that, we'll have more information. We're just building out these state chapters. Virginia and North Carolina are other great examples. The other big thing that consumed a lot of time was when we originally founded Project Vanguard, it was really focused on like supporting state siting. Maybe we were going to be like a placement group, this networking group that helps veterans get jobs. And we do that. But what we didn't really anticipate was like the need and impact that veteran stories would have on advocacy. Just, what did I do in the military? What do I do in my professional career in the energy industry? And so that's really taken off, but we need to have, the nonprofit structure for that. So originally I thought we would just be industry funded, trade groups, project developers, that kind of thing, where our members work. And what we've seen in the past 6 to 8 months is more philanthropy and just, it's a weird conversation when you're talking to an elected official and you're not there as like a nonprofit. So we're starting the Project Vanguard Foundation, a 501c3, and Project Vanguard Action Fund, a 501c4. So the C3 will do the fellowship, it'll do all the networking, it'll do all the capacity building, a lot of the storytelling. We'll keep the Action Fund for any kind of legislative days that we do in state. We still don't really care about federal. This industry needs to focus on its ground game at the county and state level. That'll fix the federal issues that are plaguing the industry. But this top-down approach is not doing us any favors, or in the past of aligning with, one political party over another. So, our big push is to be nonpartisan or bipartisan, but really leaning into where people aren't already, favorable of the industry, and especially where like there's just this mismatch between perception and reality. And so that's usually right of center. And so we want to be the most effective messengers with, Republicans and conservatives and explaining what's really happening from our experience. And so I think that's going to go a lot easier with the C3 and the C4 model that we're putting in. And so those things should be live, and we'll have, hopefully next time I do one of these videos, we'll have those websites up and everything back from the IRS. According to my CPA, it goes really fast now. All right, so let's go through last month. We had a really great conversation with Alex Mouton from our fellowship. Alex has also done a really great job of helping us build more relationships. Oh, that's something I missed. So we've been really working on having MOUs on how we talk about Project Vanguard with our channel partners. So if you're watching this and you'd like to collaborate, let me know. We have a whole framework on like how often are we running events together? How do we manage social? I don't ever want our brand associated with like the Democratic Party or anything like that. So like there are just clear things like I don't want to be part of a net zero conversation. I don't want to be tied to a climate justice conversation. We're about vet jobs. We're about energy security and the economics of all the above to secure American energy dominance. That's it. And bluey in some cases. So last month alone, we did 360,000 social impressions. Again, we did just over 600,000 in all of 2025. So we've gotten a lot more reach. Things are coming up. Partnering with more groups like the American Energy Service Providers, AESP, which Alex helped us set up. These are energy service providers, service companies with utilities, which again goes back to just kind of getting more veteran engagement. They were starting a veteran group. And so Alex is like, hey, we there's a Vets in Energy thing through Project Vanguard. Let's talk to them. So we've been able to have great conversations there with friends over at RISE, the Women's in Renewable and Sustainable Energy. So really great, community partners that are also 501c3s and running these things. And so it's just going to be easier to work with those like the Renewable Energy Farmers Association, this, Conservative Energy Network. There's just a lot of people that we're working with that we want to formalize those relationships and put them on guardrails. And we're putting a little bit of money behind these podcast episodes. So, never more than like a couple $100 a month, but we're seeing really great traction on those. It's just now we got to take this great content and like, so what? Now people are seeing it a lot more. But what do we have them do with that? We did run one event here in Houston. So we got, a bunch of the folks to come out. Gabby and I were out at that at Deck McSweeney's in the Galleria. It was timed around the Latitude Media Energy Resilience Conference, but we weren't partnered with them, unfortunately, for that. There's still a ton of jobs getting posted inside the Slack channel. So if you're watching this and you want to post jobs, again, what we ask is that you post jobs that you have some kind of influence or insight on, not just your, company career page, right? So we want to make sure that like, these are things where a vet could see that, be interested in it, call the person who posted it, learn more, and then get a personal reference in there. So it's not as broad as a job board. It's meant to be more focused on community and relationships and building those one-on-ones. And I continue to hear a lot about people getting jobs, or I joined the community and I was able to meet 8 other vets that are in the industry that are really exciting, and I was able to connect with them. That's great. I would really appreciate those stories more than like 6 months after you got a job. Like, I don't know, we got to do a better job of like finding a way to collect that information. But the more you're benefiting, if you're watching this and you've benefited or got your job that way, like, we really need those testimonies. We need those stories so other people know how to engage with the brand, with the platform, with that channel, and maximize their results and expedite it. So that way we get more people in faster. So if you've had success, you know, don't wait to tell me. Don't be shy. Don't, be afraid you're tooting your own horn or anything like that. Just come and talk to me. We did roll out our community leader program. So here are the 30 or so folks that we have. We're adding people. So it's on our open enrollment. Originally, the fellowship program I thought was going to be for young professionals. It turns out, 90% of these folks I've known for years and probably didn't really know what the fellowship was, just agreed to do it because I asked them and trusted that I wouldn't waste their time, which I probably will in some respects. But we're also trying to maximize the best of it. So, take Greg there in the top right corner. He was going to the Veterans and Energy Conference, which is another great group we'd love to partner with, and does amazing things with utility companies in this energy space. And I believe he'd been on the board of the organization before. Actually, I know he has, because that's how we got connected. So Greg just says, "Hey, I'm going to be at this conference. I think there's a few other people from the Slack. Can we host a dinner?" Right? And it's just a pop-up. Like, they're just all planting a flag and showing up. He flips that information of 5W over to Gabby. She throws it up. And then other people that had seen our group that was going to be there now are, signing up. And it's a great way for us to know who's going and just bring everybody together. We'll have a great group pick. I think for some reason Greg was behind the camera instead of in front of it, taking the picture of everybody else. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff. I think we'll have 11 events in February, just because the community leaders are just seeing things. Nick saw something in Vegas that he wanted to do and threw it on there. And then somebody from one of the local elected offices wanted to come out. Megan's doing something during Climate Week and project siting and permitting for ACP in Colorado, which we also got an NREL tour. So if you're in Colorado and you want to take a tour of the National Lab of the Rockies, as it's called now, one of our members is a researcher there and is going to give a tour. So you can go find that on the Eventbrite page. You just go to our website, projectvanguard.com, click events, and you can see all these things. But these are an amazing group of individuals that are doing great things. And we're really excited to start promoting them as fast as we can. We do have the tour coming up. So we've locked down the first 2 events there on that events page as well. We will be at Sweetwater, Texas, for the Gravel Grind, which is a bike ride, off-road bike ride, through a bunch of wind farms that the landowner opens up, and all proceeds from that race go towards the local volunteer fire department. So it's a great event. That'll be in March, and then in April we'll be in San Angelo for the livestock show there. And for both of those, our community leader Brad Quigley, the owner of what is it? Solar. He's doing sheep. He's going to kill me later. All right. Sorry, Brad. I'll do an extra thing to make it up to you. But we have a great group of partners as we're going through. A lot of the developers, Renewable Energy Farmers Association, Conservative Texans for Energy Innovation, the Power Votes program, and we're really trying to just raise awareness in these project communities where there's all this economic development, where there's all these jobs, where there's real impact on people's lives, especially veterans, but pulling together energy workers, landowners, and business owners, and putting together the team that can start replicating this nationwide, because we think that the biggest problem our industry has isn't deployment of projects. It's just telling the story of what's really happening on the ground. And it's not a climate net zero story. It's just Americans working, creating more energy independence, great jobs, and the economic impact on those communities. And if we just tell those stories, I think that's a very bipartisan or nonpartisan story, and we can get a lot more lift in our industry with that. Lourdes, pictured here, was able, one of our community leaders, she was able to go to the Virginia State House and go for their Energy Day and talk about, not just her Navy experience, but also her pre-construction background and what she does with Apex Clean Energy. And what, she was very nervous about talking on a lot of this stuff, but then what she found is like, I know a lot about this domain expertise of this industry that somebody in this room needs to speak up. And, she was great. Everybody loved having her there. So, we want to make sure that these opportunities are available and more veteran voices from our industry are being heard. So what's going on in the next 90 days? We've got, the AESP event in San Diego coming up, that happy hour in Vegas, the OMS conference. Will Friedel and Kyle Charpy are going to be speaking during one of the Powercast series on Thursday during that event. I'll be at the siting and permitting event in Aurora, Colorado. And like I said, we'll have that tour of the National Lab there. Chuck's still running events in Putnam County and LaSalle County in Illinois. So if you're in central Illinois and you want to come out, be my guest. He would love to have you there. We have a lunch with the Acadia Energy Lunch. There's a legislative roundtable that Jimmy and Ken are going to be running in Louisiana and Lafayette on March 3rd, same day as we're going to be participating in the Advanced Power Alliances Energy Day in Oklahoma. I'll be there for that. So if you want to come out and meet up, you can meet up with Ken and with Jimmy in Lafayette. Feel free to come out to Oklahoma. I'll also be in Iowa and Des Moines on March 2nd as we're starting to kick up things there. So just going to be a long travel week that week. So long term. So, we've been adding more followers. Basically, all of our goals for the year are double what they ended up last year. So we're coming along. If you're in the Slack, I just found this out, you're capable of adding other people to the Slack. Make sure they join the organization first, or we have to send them a bunch of emails to sign up, even though they're already Slack members. It just makes it a cleaner experience. As soon as you sign up on projectvanguard.com as a volunteer or to sign up as a member, you'll get an immediate email with an invite to Slack. So it'll happen, but you're kind of breaking the machine if you're inviting people to Slack before they join. So I love the enthusiasm. Let's put it on rails. And if you're listening to this and you've joined and maybe you're already on Slack, but you haven't signed up to volunteer, make sure to go and do that. And we're always taking applications for community leaders. So, feel free to jump in there if you feel called to do it. But, it's a great program. We're getting all of them on the podcast. So we have really great snippets to do. We found that like the 20 to 30 second clips are kind of the magic for social media from the podcast. I think the episodes are great. Aside from the host, he's kind of dull, but aside from that guy, the people being interviewed are great. And, we're willing to take on more folks and amplify your career and your story. And that's the goal. We really want to get some community leaders in Iowa and Oklahoma, especially. But, the North Carolina group is doing great. We'll have, some stuff meeting with legislators there later in the year as their state legislative session comes on. The Virginia one's wrapping up. So, we really want to focus on building up the capacity and not just showing up when the industry needs us, but being there when the workers need us all year long, and building community and helping people find jobs and accelerate their careers and problem solving and engaging. So just because these like state legislative sessions end doesn't mean we want to go away. We want to be there every day, all year. I think I've talked about a bunch of this stuff already. So if you volunteer, you kind of go on this map. We strip out your name, any of your contact information, But, we look at the zip code. So when someone says, "Hey, who do you got wherever?" I can look at it and go, "Oh, I've got, a bunch of people in this part of Texas. I got a bunch of people over here, or we need more people in Nebraska." Whatever it is. So, if you're not signed up as a volunteer, you're not going to come on this map. And this is the first place, and I'll share with um, media groups that are like, "Hey, we'd love to have a veteran comment on this thing." Well, this is the first place I looked because I can't keep track of where everybody is. Okay. And so that's it. So, like I said, sign up, volunteer, attend an event. If you want to host an event, you can reach out, talk to us there. We're looking at expanding and really bringing on some great people on staff this year. So my job is I'm not going to be at a lot of the conferences like I have in past years, but we have a ton of community leaders that are. So we're going to have happy hours at all the ACP events. We're going to be at, we're just at RE Plus Northeast. Oh, we didn't have a picture of that on there. We'll be at RE Plus Texas. We'll be at the big RE Plus. So, I mean, we have a lot of stuff coming. If you want to get engaged, you want to get people involved, we're kind of going to run on the limit of how active are volunteers. We want to have buses of active duty service members that are in transition or about to transition, coming from nearby military posts and coming out to these facilities. And I can usually get the organizers to do that. It's just a lot of organizing on our end to kind of make that happen. And I need help. So make sure to sign up to volunteer. I know that like where you're living isn't always where you're traveling for these conferences or for where your work projects are. So we'll try to get a little bit better about that. But please make sure to sign up and reach out if we can do anything to help and get in the Slack channel. Look forward to seeing you soon. All right. Thanks.